We are all tired of remakes, sequels, prequels, continuations of things we don't care about. So, why would we care about the sequel series of The Batman, another iteration of Batman that came out in 2022? And all of a sudden, we have a show called The Penguin. The Penguin, which is based on this iteration of the villainous character Penguin from Batman, who is a mobster who runs amok over Gotham, and all of a sudden we're supposed to care about this character, and surprisingly, we do. This is a guy that Colin Farrell puts on a fat suit and crazy makeup that he put on for 3 hours a day just to take off, which took 40 minutes a day, every day to not only make the Batman movie, but also to make the show, The Penguin. And we are left bedazzled by his performance. Rembo, this guy, the Penguin, Colin Farrell's the Penguin. What are you left in the wake? What you thought he was going to be versus what we got? What do you think about this show that we got? 8 episodes on HBO Max.
I think none of us could have predicted just how the heights that this show is going to reach. My God, what a incredible series of performances by obviously Colin Farrell. The who plays
Cristin Milioti.
Cristin Milioti.
Oh, Milioti.
Cristin Milioti. Yeah. Colin, Cristin, the kid that plays Vic.
Rhenzy Feliz.
Rhenzy
Feliz.
Yeah, just an incredible series of performances from all of them, and I said this in our initial review of the first episode, and I stick with it that I said that, and I'll probably clip it in here. I said that after this show is over, I had a feeling that we wouldn't be able to separate the Penguin on screen from Colin Farrell, and that any other iteration of the Penguin would fall short. And I definitely believe that happened. Colin Farrell's performance is so believable and so grounded for a Batman villain. I mean, and that's kind of the point of how we're supposed to portray Batman villains, but his is just right in that pantheon of incredible performances that we've got from Batman villains. And I think it all left us pretty stunned, and that's not just because of the incredible ending.
After the first episode, I was sold on Oz and Colin Farrell's performance of him. I was more worried about some of the supporting cast. I mean, because we knew it from the beginning, and I know you guys were gonna get pulled into it, but we needed the whole the gang to be fleshed out really well, and I think that's what this did very even better. I mean, Colin Farrell, yes, of course, you can have this great person, but if you're not surrounding him by actors that can even rise to his level or like enhance his acting abilities, and I think like young Victor definitely was a great person for us to have a lot of Oz's craziness be played off of. And then Sophia, like I did not expect her to be such a great force in this show, and it be this like cat and mouse back and forth between those two of the like jockeying for power throughout the whole 8 episodes. 'Cause I felt like it was back and forth. One episode she was on top, one episode he was on top. You know, it just kind of kept going back. So it was a really good way of showing how that battle was not just easily won of who is the next like criminal mastermind of Gotham. Because that's really what was at stake. Is like whoever was going to come out of this was going to be able to kind of run it here for a little while. So. But yeah, Mav, you said it perfectly of like us loving this character and it's having to me like almost pinch myself, remind myself that this is a psychopathic monster that they are making us, fall in love with, which is very hard to do. And I think they did it very well right up until the last second of the show. So I was so happy. I was so happy with this whole thing, and I'm so glad you guys stuck through it, and then we get to talk about it right now.
I did. I from the get go, I said that I was going to watch the first episode, and I was not going to watch any episodes until it finished because I didn't want the disappointment. Because I had watched The Boys season 4, House of the Throne of Dragons. I could not take it anymore because I was just disappointed with how they carried that series. So it's like I've been hurt so much by these shows, and so I didn't want to be hurt by a show again. But this show did the impossible. It was incredible. My complaint about how villains are handled over the last 10 years, where it's not their fault. They don't mean to be a bad guy. They just are a bad guy because of their circumstances, and that's kind of how I feel every villain's been handled as of recently. Oz is a truly despicable being, but you root for him for who knows why? Who knows why you root for this piece of shit? This scumbag. He gives a little bit of like of like you want to see this, this downtrodden individual rise to the occasion, but truly there's no reason to root for him. Jason, what is it about Oz, about Colin Farrell as this horrible human, Oz Cobb, that makes you want to root for him, despite the fact that through 8 episodes, it shows you that this is a horrible person?
It leans very heavily on the handicapness of him, I think, in the beginning to kind of have that, soft spot for him. And I love how we don't really figure out how his brothers died till very end, because, it's like he had something to do with it, but how much did he have to do with it, or is it really all his fault? So then when you figure that out and figure out about his mom, her hand and kind of everything that happened after that, it's like there was some horrible stuff in the very beginning of his life. So anyone who would have known him from right then would have hated him forever. But us not knowing a lot of his childhood and how like, oh yeah, he was just a kid who grew up in the streets and had a rough time and worked his way up to the top. That's the story you want to go this off. And then you figure out there's like, oh no. There's a lot of skeletons in that closet as his way to the top, and I love that it built this like great statue of him up and then slowly like chips it away to what he really is by the very end of it, where to the point where he's even embracing more of what he is and what he is becoming. And because I think that's what a lot of villains don't do, is they don't reflect and see that I am a monster, and I'm actually gonna make sure and kill whatever weakness is surrounding me, or that I could possibly falter this monster that I became. So no, it was very, very hard for me to, to hate this guy by the end, but it was so well done and so well played. And God, I don't know if the mom was more of a monster than he was. That's what I keep kind of going back and forth.
I mean, did his mom murder her siblings because their parent didn't give them as much attention as they wanted?
She put a hit out on her own kid after she...
I mean, he killed his 2 brothers, dude.
Oh,
That's
yeah, no, I'm not saying
understandable.
that. I'm not excusing that, but like, where are we going to be like, oh, this is worse than this is worse than this, and then the mom just like... feeding him for the next 20 years after what he did, it's like no, this kid
feeding him because like as in he's like because getting him fat.
Well, no, like taking care of him, like I wouldn't even put food in this kid's mouth after what he did to the other kids. So yeah, it's like how different are these monsters,
It is a crazy again, unflinching depiction of evil, and that's what I truly love about this show. Is this isn't a show showing, Oz was beaten as a kid and therefore he deals with his anger a certain way. Oz doesn't understand what it's like to be treated well, so he's terrible. No. Like, you can, as the audience, make up in your own mind, like, yeah, he is crippled. You can guess what his father figure was like when he was alive. So, like, you can guess that Oz was treated terribly, but they don't show that. And they don't show, like, his brothers, like, they don't show his brothers beating him up and being like, hey, you can die. And they don't show any of that. You just, as the audience, are like, okay, it's not the greatest relationship there. But my God, like, the fact that he dispatches his brothers so callously, and you as the audience are just like, There's nothing redeeming about this guy. This guy is the worst person I've seen on screen forever because he is willing to let his brothers die so that he can be more with his mom. And there's nothing that shows you like, oh, it's not his fault. It's not. No, he is terrible. And then you fast forward to him as an adult, and yet again, he's given the opportunity to save his mom, and he's like, no, it's not me. I don't know what you're talking about. And it just goes. And oh my God, Rembo, did you see like that scene of seeing the penguin just letting his mom get butchered in front of him ostensibly, and he's not doing anything about it? What further cemented his character in that scene for you?
I kept on expecting him to finally crack and being like, no, yeah, you're right. I didn't do it. Like I did it. And to finally break. But it's just like, I think our reaction is basically the same as Sophia's reaction, where she's just like staring at him. She's like, oh my God. She literally says like, oh my God, you would let your own mother's finger get cut off. Quite literally definition of just a psychopath. Just completely, no matter what, even his mom, who he claims to love and care for, even at her dismemberment, it's not enough for him to take the fall. He will never, ever, ever take the fall for anyone. Yeah, even if it's his fucking mom. So, yeah, it is crazy. Those last 2 episodes, between that scene, his brothers, and then, of course, the finale is just it's incredible. It's incredible, and it's so insane. It's its own type of insane because we've seen crazy from the Joker, which is just like clearly unhinged, like let the world burn, anarchy. And then you have Ra's al Ghul, who's willing to who thinks that the city of Gotham is so disgusting that you might as well just burn it to the fucking ground and then let it rebuild itself. And but this is a whole different sort of crazy. And it's like you see all the signs throughout the whole show. You see all the signs, but he's just charismatic enough and he limps just enough. And he's just downtrodden enough that you're like, you justify it in your head all the way up until the literal last moments of the show. And that is, I don't even know how. I feel like the mind ninja'd me because I don't know how they did that to keep me rooting for him, but somehow they did literally up until that moment.
So, Jason, yeah, there is so spoiler alert for the whole end of the show, but it is an incredible feat that for whatever reason, you root for Oz, you root for Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Everyone's kind of shitting on him, and this 8-episode miniseries shows Oz going through the progressions of trying to rise through the ranks of the mafia in Gotham. And he eventually takes his vengeance and becomes victorious. What was your feelings? What are your feelings watching this portrayal of the Penguin? How did you feel about him at the beginning of the show versus how you felt about him at the end?
I mean, yeah, he's a different character in our minds from the beginning to the end. I mean, I guess he was that same person when he shot Falcone and the brother. I can't remember his first name in the first episode. But we just got to peek behind that curtain so much more throughout all of this, and it was fantastic, because, yeah, it took this piece of shit guy that you were really kind of rooting for in that first episode. He pulls up in some purple car all blinging, being a piece of shit with the Falcone kid, but then by the very end, yeah, you're rooting for him up to the end, but yeah, the change is for us to kind of see. He was the same person. Does that kind of make sense on there? Like what I'm saying? Because I felt like that, but the other side of the coin, 2 sides of the same coin on this one was Sophia. Sophia wasn't a monster to start off with. She got turned into a monster by Arkham and by the people around her and by her dad and everything like that. So she was a good person. And the fact that we saw this progression of her just getting thrown into pretty much jail as an innocent girl, and what happened and how that both of them were monsters at the end, but from two different, products. And so I thought that was very, very cool. And then, fucking Penguin. So he doesn't kill Sophia. He pins everything on her, like blowing up the Crown Point, all the the gang war stuff onto her, so she goes back into Arkham. The one place that's like worse than death for her is what he kind of does to her at the end. Not saying that she didn't deserve it or whatnot, but it just shows you another level of his just fucking monsterness in him, and his of course smarts and ingenuity, and just being able to have so many strings being pulled at the same time. So not only he's a horrible psychopathic monster, but he's a genius on top of that.
There's a level of the Penguin's depravity that I haven't seen in a while. I mean, maybe Game of Thrones, because watching the Penguin, and while I was watching the final episode, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want to see him die and just, he dies and he didn't win and he sucks. And that's the story of the Penguin. And I don't want to see that. And it's no, he does win. And the moment, it is an all-time TV show moment where finally he wins. He sets up Sophia to take the fall for all of his horrible crimes. And Sophia's going to go to prison or Arkham, and she's going to rot. And he's sitting there with Victor, who, by the way, what a character. Victor is so likable as this this young kid who is initially caught stealing hubcaps off of the Penguin's vehicle. And it's the only human moment that the Penguin has is connecting with Victor. And the Victor is wanting to connect to the Penguin and being a part of his schemes. And eventually, Victor finds a ways to kill people and justifies it by, standing true to his family, which he considers the Penguin. And at the end of all of this, the Penguin and Victor are sitting on a bench, and Victor tells the Penguin that he's family, and Penguin looks afar, and then eventually he's yeah, but the thing about family, and he grabs Victor by the throat and strangles the life out of him. When I saw it, I literally my jaw hit the floor, and I got extremely angry, just being you can't do this. The guy that I watched be a piece of shit, horrible human that betrayed everybody for 8 episodes, the moment he grabbed Victor's throat, I was I can't believe you did this to me. But no matter what happens, he reveals himself to be what you thought the whole time. And Jason, when you saw him grab Victor's throat and strangle him, what did you think? Because I literally got angry, and I was I can't believe this is happening.
Well, so in the first episode, he pulls a gun at the back of his head, stare at the sunset, and I'm going to shoot you. So I didn't think he was going to go through with it once again. Him just knee-jerk reaction, my emotions, and then he was going to let off his throat or do something like that. It was that it kept going in the life. And I was wait, he's actually going to die. He's not letting go of him. It was one of those kind of things where I wasn't as surprised with the actual initial grab, but it was more that he went through with it that kind of blew my mind. Fuck him. Fuck that guy. But that's what we said off camera. It's so good that we watch a show that gets these emotions to come out of us. Such a hate of character on screen.
I'm just I am always rooting for a good bad guy. Thanos, I'm enjoying that Thanos kills, Idris Elba. He kills Tom Hiddleston. I'm enjoying all of it. The ruthlessness. It's just most bad guys in movies and TV shows are just so forgettable. They're boring. They're what's the word? Just the predictable. it's hard to make a good villain. It's easy to make somebody likable and nice and like make him a good guy. It's on the right side of things, but it's hard to make a villain that's interesting. And then again, a villain that you can really get, dig in and root for. And so you're and then up until that moment, I'm like rooting for him. I'm like, yeah, fuck Sophia. Like, fuck her. She didn't she's going back to Arkham. She's going to fucking rot. Yeah. Like, I love all of that. Also, and then at the moment that he starts choking him, it's, I literally just jaw on the floor. Oh my God. I can't believe this is happening. And then immediately my first thought is, where's Batman? Batman needs to stop this guy. He's a menace. Like, I was totally fine with him flooding the streets with drugs, fucking capping kids, all of the despicable things. But then Victor getting got, it was just, where's the spirit of vengeance? Somebody send up the bat signal. And of course, that is the last thing you see is the bat signal in the sky. And it's just like, God damn it, somebody's got to fucking put a stop to this nonsense.
So I read an article that was titled that. It was like, where the fuck was Batman during this entire show? And the top reason or whatnot was, this is an area of Gotham that Batman doesn't patrol as heavily as some of the other areas of Gotham. This is not where bank robberies are going down. This is like some small side drug dealing, and he's got bigger fish to fry. So that's why, you didn't see the Batmobile ripping through the streets. But hey, we had a Batman show that didn't even have Batman in it, so I thought that was a huge accomplishment.
One of the brilliant moments of this show is the fact that whatever reason you're just rooting for him, and in the final episode when he shows himself to be truly lacking of any type of redemptive qualities, when he strangles Victor and kills him, and you are left with this feeling like, where's Batman? And it's like, well, as the audience, we've left out Batman for 8 episodes. Like, we have abandoned Batman. And this is what happens when you do that. Like, we were not there for Batman. Therefore, Victor gets strangled to death. And
it's our fault that Victor died. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that whether it was intentional or not, it is an incredible feat that we as the audience watch something where we're not actively being like, oh, these are the bad guys. They're terrible. We're rooting against them. The whole time, I was not waiting for Batman to show up, but at the last scene of the last episode, when Batman's signal shows up, that was the first and only moment where, as the audience, I was like, yes, I want Batman, save us. It really felt like, again, maybe it was coincidental, but the feeling of the bat signal showing up in the moment as the audience, that we were waiting, oh my God, we need someone to save us from the Penguin. It was there. I was blown away.
Yeah, well done with the writing. Yeah, showing that we didn't need him till then, because then it got that big, because now he's probably, hopefully this leads right into Batman 2. This is now that the Penguin is going to be some mob boss, and it won't be required viewing to have this for the next movie. But if you want to know how who picked up the pieces of the crime underworld, this is what happened. So.
I feel like the best move would be to stash Penguin away for a trilogy, the third, because it's you took a whole season, a whole 8 episodes and all this time and effort to really build the guts of the Penguin's character. I feel like save him as the big bad, the big bad with the grand finale.
Oh, interesting. That's a good idea.
That's how I feel because then it's if you bring him in and then you have him and have that story end in movie 2, then 3 the villain of 3 comparatively you just wouldn't care as much, so it'd feel like a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, unless they spend 2 building up that next villain. But yeah, I hate when movies do that. Yeah, but still, no, you're absolutely right. Pop in a new villain for 2 and then have Penguin with the Iceberg Lounge, has some cool sidekicks and polar bears and penguins with rocket packs.
Final thoughts and ratings. Jason, how would you rate this miniseries we got of 8 episodes of The Penguin?
The only thing would have made it better is be high on bliss during this whole 8 episodes. I would have watched it. No, dude, like this is 11, 12. This is a great show, and it's like I work in restaurants, and the fact that there is multiple age groups of people talking about the show. And when someone is talking about Penguin in the corner, someone's like, what? I want to join in on this conversation. Like it's a thing that everyone has opinions on and likes to talk about those fun moments. Like at work, we were just talking about them doing the beer drinking part with all the mob bosses that he pulls up in that truck with the trunk full of beer and just starts throwing them out. There's like some really, really cool like moments in this show of just good acting, and like I keep saying, the cast that he's surrounded by. So no, like I always say, base it off how I'd recommend this to people, and there's no one. I'd recommend this to my parents. I'd recommend this to like kids on the street. I'd recommend this to pastors in the church. So you got to see the show. Old Jim King got to give this a shot. But I loved it. I had a good time with it, and I don't know if I would have done what you guys did. I loved the week by week water cooler talk of this show, thinking about what was happening the next time, like having that time to think about Sophia, what her next move was going to be, and same with Penguin. So no, 10 out of 10, highly recommend.
Rembo, your thoughts on the Penguin as a show in total?
Fantastic. Just as good as it could have better than it could have possibly have been in my mind going into it. I really didn't have high expectations going into it. I was like, yeah, maybe it'll be okay. My thoughts were just that I like Colin Farrell in the movie, and that I was like, oh yeah, he'll be fun, but I didn't expect the story to be this intriguing. I did not expect it to be so gripping. So just a couple rapid fire things. One, how the fuck did Clancy Brown get out of jail? Just as simply as a guard, he literally makes an offhand comment. He's like, your guard tried to kill me. Good thing I took his keys. Really? You're like 6'8", dude, and somehow with white hair, you're a prisoner, and all you needed was a set of keys to get out? How the fuck did that happen? There's that. She changes outfits 20 times. I'm not exaggerating. 20 times in the last episode. Every scene she's in, she's wearing a different outfit. Why? I don't know. It didn't make any sense. It's dumb. Those are the big things that stood out to me. Anyway, other than that, show's fucking awesome. Absolutely nuts. The standard, honestly, for on-screen Batman villains, I'm saying Heath Ledger 1 and Colin Farrell 2. I just don't think you could do it better. It can't be done any better than those guys. Like how to take someone, as far as taking a character off of the pages of a comic book, you could not possibly hope to represent them better than Heath Ledger did as the Joker and as Colin Farrell represented the Penguin. I mean, it just can't be done.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze is out there too.
All right.
I think the Penguin is, in terms of what it was trying to accomplish, it literally, like you said, Rem, it does it as good as you could possibly have imagined. There's weird, like the fact that they nailed this character and made him this crazy mob villain. It's so amazing, and the fact that Colin Farrell was so dedicated to being the Penguin and like was willing to do 3 hours in makeup, and then it took 40 minutes to get out of makeup. He was happy to do this process to make this character work. It's so cool, and this is what makes film and television so cool, is when someone is so dedicated to something that could have been phoned in. And I love the fact that Colin Farrell took this character so seriously, taking the fact that he has a limp, so he waddles, and he has a nose that is elongated to make him look more penguin and more bird-like.
We never even find out how he gets the scar.
I love that. I love the fact that we don't know that. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be an Easter egg of like, oh, like that's the time he got the scar. Like that's not there. It's just like, this is a crazy person. Not once do we ever get a moment that's like, oh, it's not his fault. He got abused, so he's crazy. It's like, yeah, you can assume that happened, but no, we just see him be a piece of shit, horrible human that kills his brothers and kills people unprovoked. And we're watching that and rooting for him in a weird way. You know how I got this last page?